Hey guys, Big One 589 here with
Jeff Benson from Haunts for the Homeless and Spirits Rising Haunted House.
so Hauntober 2018 haunt tours are over. And I'm looking at you directly because I know how I screwed up in all those reviews when I interviewed someone. I kept on looking over at the camera as I'm talking to somebody, and I apologize to everybody about that. I'm having little issues when I do interviews and stuff like that. I don't know where to look sometimes. And then the worst part about it is my camera. Then the process of a lot of these reviews were going in and out of focus. I don't know why I was doing that, but we're discovering the quirks and the issues, and that's why next year is going to be updated and better. But the reason we're here is we're going to go over all the haunts for you guys. So you guys can know what we went through, what haunts were what for rating scales, and what we thought of them as we went through. So we're going to start off the top. When we did the first one was 13th World. 13th World in Cumberland, Rhode Island, me and Jeff went through. It was the first Friday of October we went, I think. Was it something like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We went there, and it was a different type of haunt. It felt more like a homebrew haunt, like a home haunt. It felt really comfortable going through. It wasn't so in your face that, you're getting like the shit scared out of you to the point where you're gonna go home and have nightmares. It felt great. We both gave it a 4 out of 5 rating. Is there anything you want to say to 13th World for their haunts?
No, it was good for what they had. It was outdoor haunt in the woods. It was kind of like a smaller version of Fear Town, the way they had their sets set up. But it was good. They did a good job with what they had.
Yeah, 13th World was great. We went through there. Like I said, the actors are great, especially the guy on the zip line. I thought that was great. It was a different take on a corn section, and he called us back to come through again and having to do it again, and it was really good. 13th World was 4 out of 5 for us guys. Our next stop was Trail of Terror in Wallingford, Connecticut. I went there last year. I was really excited to go again. Jeff, you've been there before in the past, before
years ago.
Yeah, and you came back to it.
Even then, this is like back in the 90s, and even then I thought it was one of the best haunts I'd ever seen. But it has totally changed since the last time I was there. In the owners, it was actually, I think, in his backyard.
Something like that, yeah.
But I thought it was phenomenal back then. But now it's just totally mind-blowing now.
Yeah, we both gave that scale rating. It was me, Josh, and my friend Katie, and Jeff. We all went there. I think pretty much we all gave it a 5 skulls out of 5. Like I said, every year I go there, they still blow me out of the water. They always rebuild their sets. They change things. They make it different. And this is one of the haunts where they actually have the famous characters, like the Michael Myers, the Jason Voorhees, the Freddy Krueger. Like, they always have like some kind of famous movie monster in it. And they also do really good with that. Like, that Freddy Krueger was really good. I really loved that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes by far. And that whole set was the Freddy Krueger. Especially the It one. The It scene was great. So that was Trail of Terror in Wallingford, Connecticut. We both gave it a 5, guys. All right, so one of the haunts that I went to that I think Jeff was working that night, I went to was Scary Acres. They had a really big corn maze. Their hayride was good. I felt like while the hayride, they needed some spots to fill with some props, some smoke, so maybe some music, something to fill the empty areas. I felt like a lot of the empty areas were just too empty, and they needed to be added stuff into it to make it work a little bit better. But overall, like I said, when I went through by myself with my buddy Josh, and we took the camera, went through, and so you guys saw in the footage of it, I thought it was really good because the actors played off like 2 people like a whole wagon, like they should. What I thought was good is they had 2 people on the wagon. Me and my buddy Josh, we were doing it. I was recording it, and they played it off like there was a whole wagon, and they played their part perfectly. In fact, I think they stepped up with 2 compared to when it was full, which was really cool because they gave us a full-on experience. Like, we're in the area, we're on the haunt, and they were there. And that corn maze, I don't know any other haunt that has a corn maze in the area other than Field of Screams, I think. Did they have a corn maze at one point?
I had never been there.
I don't know any other haunt that has a core maze. Their core maze is amazing. I love their core maze, especially their large it statue. We gave that a 4. I gave it a 4 out of 5 for that, and I thought they did a real good job. So the next one I went to, again, I went by myself because, well, I wanted to experience this one, and I also volunteered after. I went to the one Jeff was working at in Newport, Fortress of Nightmares.
You wanted a more intimate experience.
Yeah, so Fortress of Nightmares in Newport, they jumped their ratings this year a lot. And you guys, a lot of you don't know, I went there last year, and the rating it's gone and doesn't exist anymore. This year, the rating went up because what they did this year, they actually took what I consider was almost like a 15-minute walkthrough and made it feel like it was 45 to 50 minutes. It literally looped around so often that by the time you took that left turn, there's another left turn, there's a right turn, left turn, right turn. There's so many loops around in that area that I really feel like that they did an excellent job with their placement, and a lot of things they did there was just done to a fine detail to make it feel like it was longer. And because it was your haunt, how did your haunt go this year?
Well, it wasn't just mine. It was Fort Adams haunt.
I mean,
we joined the Fortress of Nightmares.
Let me rephrase that. Hold on. Because you joined Fort Adams this year, how do you feel it went this year?
I think it went rather well for our first year joining there. We added to what they had, and we were the first haunted house going through this year. It's small. It's our first year, but it went rather well, I think. And I got to give a big thank you and shout out to the volunteers that worked at our haunt this year at Spirits Rising. They really did a good job, and I hope they come back next year. It wasn't as high tech as I had wanted it to be because of our funding. Wasn't what I expected, so we relied on the actors more so. And they really did a good job, and I hope you guys come back next year.
Yeah, I got to give Jeff a lot of credit, and the manager of Fortress of Nightmares too. Like I said, when I went there last year, it felt like a different experience. Like this year, I felt like it was more advanced than it was the year before. It had more added to it. The swamped laser light show was great. The tunnels, and a lot of the actors, they really played their part well this year, and I think that they did a good job. So they got a 4 out of 5 this year. So my next stop I went to was Haunted Labyrinth in Cranston, Rhode Island. It was an experience. For the haunt, it was an experience going into the haunt waiting. What a lot of people don't know what happened prior to the show of going to the haunt is we're standing in line. Bazinga behind the camera over here, he was a cameraman for that shot. Someone just hauled off and threw an egg. Yeah, threw an egg. All right, almost hit us. Thought nothing of it. All right, so added to the experience at first. I thought oh wow, they're actually having people throw stuff. Okay, and all of a sudden I'm talking to the owner again, Joe, and I'm sitting there talking to him, and then all of a sudden I hear oh yeah, well Q5392 Rhode Island license plate. I'm calling the cops now. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? The guy pulled a gun on the crowd. Yeah. So I didn't even went into the haunt and someone pulled a gun on the crowd. So my anxiety level was already high at that point. So what this haunt did this year is they did a Alice in Wonderland theme, and it was pretty cool to see when I walked through because what they did was a simplistic, smaller haunt, charitable haunt, helping the youth of Cranston stay off the street, basically working with the youth to basically work in a haunt. And what they did is small sets inside there, extremely detailed for Alice in Wonderland. Like a lot of the things there, the bunnies, the rabbit hole was like a dark tunnel going through. They had a large vortex tunnel, and it was in a gymnasium. The amount of space they use in the gymnasium really surprised me. I think the only thing that threw me off, like I told the owner and the person who was running the haunt, Joe, as I said, the actors and the actresses relied on their negative scare. I'm going to name that a negative scare from now on. Is the raws and the ooze, and it's like we don't want that. We want them to interact with the patrons. A lot of them use that type of scare, and that's all I heard is screams and raws and ooze, and that's it. And that's one of the reasons why we gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, if the sets were really detailed, they're small, they look really cool. If the actors stuck to like a little more like conversating to the customers and using some lines, I feel like it would have went up a little bit. So I'm hoping that next year that it only gets better with the actors and the sets and everything. So it was a 3.5 out of 5. Our next stop was a long drive, a very cold drive, and I think this is the first night you went and you forgot a sweater.
You did.
I did. Okay, I forgot a sweater. One of us forgot a sweater a couple times. So we went to Haunted Overload. Now, I've never been to Haunted Overload before, and Jeff has been there once or twice, I think, so far. And I was really shocked at how great this place was. Like, we got there early, around 7 o'clock, 7:30, and the lines were out the door. Like, even on opening night, out the door, you couldn't get in there. It was a great sight to see, even the lines, going through the queue line, just to get through there. It was just the sets alone were enormous.
The sculptures that he does, Eric, that he does here, it's mind-blowing. And they're made from pieces of wood. I don't know who does the sculpting, but it's absolutely phenomenal. And they're just enormous. They're like 3 stories high, and I don't know how he does it, but I hope he doesn't have to move them every year.
Yeah, they are enormous. Like, I remember one of the sculptures was a large jack-o'-lantern standing up 3 stories high, staring down upon the patrons, and it was just I couldn't believe the sights I saw. And the sets alone was great, but the actors itself, they were amazing. Like, you didn't get the famous Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, or it. You got their own homemade characters they made from like costumes, designs, ideas, and literally they come up and they're their own characters. And that right there is what really makes a haunt to me now, is when they can make their own character and run with it, and not kind of like overdo the same thing over and over. Like I said, a lot of haunts do it well, don't get me wrong, but when you go to a haunt and there's like, I don't know that clown from anywhere, I don't know that scarecrow from anywhere, it makes it so it's more memorable. Like that image of that character is stuck with you. I really think that place is great. We gave it both a 5, if I recall.
Eric, I guess he makes a new facade every year, and last year, and I said this in the review for the haunt itself, that last year they built the front or facade for a haunted house or a haunted mansion, which in itself is amazing. I mean, it looks beautiful. I didn't know that we were going to be walking through it from the side. You enter through the side, and it's an actual haunted house that you can walk through. And I was just amazed by the sets in this thing. And it's about maybe the same size as my haunt, on the small side. But walking through this thing, I was like, wow! It was beautiful. On a haunt set design standpoint, it was just amazing. And
So the next stop we had was to New Hampshire again. This time we did 2 haunts. You'll see the next one in a minute. But the first one we did was Fright Kingdom. Now, Jeff has talked about this place to me many times before, saying, Ben, you have to go to Fright Kingdom and think you'll have a good time. Ben, you have to go to Fright Kingdom. Finally, I said, you know what? We're going to do it this year. I said, we're going to go there. Now, Tim, I got to tell you right up front that was amazing. I love your haunt. I cannot give you enough credit for what you've done. He has a warehouse, basically, full of small facades, and every one feels like it's twice as large when you go through it. And when you see the facade, you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. But then there's like 5 other things attached to it that make it feel like it's twice as large. And the actors and actresses do their role so well. Like there was a girl in the first part, and like when the first part I saw, she was crawling the backwards spider crawl, like the Grudge kind of thing. I don't know how she does that.
That was the facade for the, I mean the queue line to go in. That's after the first scene was a zombie apocalypse, and then each haunt. There's 5 haunts inside this warehouse. 5 attractions. Each one has its own queue line, and we're waiting in line to go in the manor, the haunted manor there. And there's this contortionist.
Yeah, she was a character, and I really loved the house facade you were telling me about when we went in there. You said look at the paintings. The paintings were amazing. I really like that. And one of the things that I really love is clowns, and you guys know how much I love clowns, but I still to this day remember that 3D clown portion because I loved every clown in there, especially that second clown. She was excellent.
Here we go.
She was excellent. I'm just saying I love clowns, and she followed me the whole way and made an experience the whole thing. It was great. The one thing I gotta say about that whole thing that was a solid nope, which I do not like dark mazes anymore because of that. I do not like dark mazes. And I blame Tim for that because that one had shock panels. And I will not tell you where in that spot, but I went through the haunt like this, using my elbows to hit the wall to know where it is. I refuse to go through a haunt without my hands being covered from now on, knowing that there are shock panels.
I thought it was funny, but
of course you did. Now, that was a great one. We both gave it a 5 out of 5. And like I said, they have 2 more haunt days coming up. They have their Krampus one in December, and then they have a Valentine's Day in February. And I'm going to try to make the attempt to hit up both of those to get a review for you guys because you guys are great. I love your haunt.
I took a few weeks ago, before they opened, I took my general manager, him and I went up to Fright Kingdom to see the owner Tim and to talk with him for a little bit. And they're also one of our sponsors this year for Spirits Rising. So anyway, we got there, and Tim gave us the tour of the haunt with the lights on, no actors, nothing running, and I mean this haunt is so good. My general manager just about wet his pants going through this new haunt this year called the Abandoned, or the new edition this year. Tim got him right at the end, and I thought it was hilarious. But that's how good this place is.
Spooky World. So one of the other haunts we went to in New Hampshire right after Fright Kingdom was Nightmare in New England or Spooky World. Now, I try to keep everything positive with the haunt reviews. I think you guys did what you guys have is a great setup, and it's a great haunt to go through. I know you guys are short staffed, and that's one of the reasons why my review gave it a 3 out of 5, and you gave it a 4. I really do feel like what's missing out is that you guys told me that you guys don't usually rebuild the place often. You kind of leave it. I feel like if there's some new sets and some new setups, that it might revitalize some spots that people have seen so often that it gets kind of like, I've seen this a couple times. I feel like if some things were just revitalized and changed a little bit, that it might step it up just a little bit of a notch. But I think overall the actors were great. I think the house one we went through that you liked.
We went through that twice.
They had a lot of detail in that one.
Well, the Carnage. It's a cool concept, and you're going through a junkyard. And even the guy who was letting people in, even he said that a lot of the actors took off. A lot of actors weren't there that night, so that's probably why it didn't have the amp feelings, the amped up, the energy that it should have had. So, I mean, I can understand what you guys are going through because we had to get volunteers for our haunts too. And that's not an easy thing to do to get them to stay. So that's Other than that, I thought the even the Carnage one, I thought the detail in the set was pretty wild.
Yeah, like I said, it's nothing negative to the haunt at all. I do just feel like I said, I know through the haunt itself, they had this very short staff, but I feel like if you guys revitalize some scenes and change some things up, it would actually amp it up, and people were like, wow, I didn't see this last year, like something different. Our last stop in the tour was to Seekonk, Massachusetts, Feartown. I love that place.
Which you went through twice.
We've been through this. I love that place for the fact that I love Extreme Nights. Now, I already made plans that next year we're going to have to go through it when it's not Extreme Night, and we're going to have to go through it on Extreme Night again. And we're at the end every haunt season with Extreme Night at Feartown. So every year I'm gonna end it with Feartown. What I like about this place is I love the creative process that that Mike does with this haunt. I really think that the scenes, the setup, the actors, the makeup, just the creative process in general, everything. Like just the intro going into the haunt, the girl in the van. That girl in the van, I don't know if it was a scripted the thing she did, but every time I heard it, like I watched the video again of that spot of what it was, it felt more real looking into it. She had so much energy into it. Like I thought she played her role perfect. And a lot of the actors there, they played their roles really good. Like the girl with the guillotine that you know personally. Mm-hmm. She knew you, she grabbed you real quick, and she attacked you pretty good.
Oh, the one that keeps calling me Stripes, right?
Yeah. And then to this day, after going last year and this year, I love eating rice, but I hate going there for rice. Every time I go to the cat lady, I swear to you, I go back with another poundful of rice in the back of my shirt.
It's supposed to be fleas.
But it's fleas. I'm sorry, I'm ruining the experience now. But fleas, yes. And then I go into the next part, and they amped it up because the girl put me in the tub and said, all right, you ready? Pulled a cord, and a gallon of rice went pouring down me again. Twice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So now I had literally about 2 boxes of rice going down me. And I'm telling you, I can boil that stuff up. And then one of the scenes I think you had trouble with, and I still have trouble with just hearing it on the video, is the Christmas scene. That guy played that role.
Oh, he was awesome.
He was great. He comes in and says Merry Christmas, swears to you.
With a cigarette in his mouth,
yep.
And just, hey, how you doing?
And then he asks you to denounce Halloween.
Yeah, no.
He goes, say Halloween sucks and Christmas is better.
I almost said the safe word on that.
I switched it up on him. I'm like, Halloween sucks for you. He's like, you get the F out of here. And that's where you get the intro in my video, like, well, you should be doing something better by lighting a Christmas tree or something. So he played that part perfectly.
He was good. The first scene, the opening, the narration, I think it was good. She acted well. She was a good actress. I think she needed to. It kind of bothered me that she was plainclothed. She didn't have a costume on or anything. I think it would have added to it if she had some kind of costume on. That's one of the only things that bothered me. Going through the haunt, the whole thing, it reminded me of a shanty town. It wasn't as detailed as the other haunts that we went through. It doesn't have to be detailed. That I know of haunts that they have no set at all. It's just a walk through the woods, and that's all it is. Maybe 1 or 2 actors, but it's more of a mind screw than anything else. It's just it's all in how you portray it. And like, okay, so it's like a shanty town that you walk through, but it's the actors that make it work. They pull it off. It's the actors that pull it off, and they just do a wonderful job. They're excellent, and that's why they come back. They love what they do. It's obvious that they love what they do.
Yeah, I got throughout all these haunts, I got to know at least one or two actors from every haunt, and I got to give a shout out to the Bacon Brothers from Feartown because now I'm talking to them directly. Those guys are some twisted freaks, man. What they did to what they have in their Facebook and their Instagram, wow, just plain out wow. What I saw with the other patrons, it was just amazing. I'm like, really? So. The Bacon Brothers, shout out to you guys. You guys know who I'm talking about if you see another video. So we both gave that place, I believe, a 5 for overall rating.
Right.
So next year we have a lot planned. I'm not giving any detail what haunts we're going to. All I'm going to tell you is we're going south. That's right, south?
South.
Yeah, we're going south. So be prepared. Any haunt down south from us, but we're planning on going down south to get some haunts in. And revisits, 3 revisits are on the list, and that's going to be Feartown. Actually, Feartown's already going down, so it'll be 4. So be prepared for 4 revisits this next year. Feartown is one of them. Trail of Terror, definitely going back to that one. Haunted Overload and Fright Kingdom. Those are the 4 that are going to be on the revisit list for next year. I plan on going back to those next year because those are the ones that stand out above them all to me.
Possibly the Krampus and the Valentine's one.
Yes, but
I don't know who you're bringing, but
I'm not sure. But I might bring somebody.
Okay,
I'll figure it out. But those are I don't consider revisits for say. I consider them just as an addition to the haunt for the review itself. So this has been Big Midnight 589.
Jeff Benson from Haunts for the Homeless and Spirits Rising Haunted House
for the Halloween wrap-up Hauntober reviews. I hope you guys enjoyed it this year. Can't wait to see you guys next year. Signing off.